I'd like to thank you for agreeing to speak with such a small website like ClassB.net. We appreciate you going out of your way to do the interview.
I appreciate the invite.
You're truly a hardcore zombie fan, like many of us here.
I'm a hardcore zombie fan. I grew up on the original Dawn of the Dead, which was very big when I was in junior high school. Day of the Dead. It's a subgenre that I've always loved. And nobody was doing them at the time, so I thought I'd do it.
Of all your work, what would you classify as your best? What do you think? What's your personal favorite out of everything?
Usually the book I'm currently working on, but out of everything that's been published, I'd have to say either Ghoul or Terminal.
What are you working on right now?
Right now, I just finished up a book called Ghost Walk, which will be out next year, and now I'm working on a crime novel called Kill Whitey, which the title is very different than what the actual book is about.
Rasputin.
Yes, Rasputin.
Out of all your work, what do you think would transfer best to the big screen?
I think everything I write has sort of a cinematic feel to it. The Rising, City of the Dead, and Terminal are all in the process of being optioned. I think the Conqueror Worms would make a great big budget summer movie.
Any word on the Rising video game, and has progress taken place in the last few months?
I can't say anything.
Saw that one coming.
It's coming soon.
What influenced you to become a horror writer?
I don't know that there was any one influence. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and I read a lot of Stephen King and Richard Lehman novels, Marvel comics of the 70s, all these horror titles like Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing. I guess just the kind of stuff I always enjoyed, so, that's what I do for a living now as an adult.
What do you think is good or bad with the horror genre right now?
What I think is good is that it's really back in popularity again. We're experiencing a really big resurgence. I don't know if that has to do with America's current political climate or not. Some people think it does. Bad, I think cinematically remake fever is going to hurt us in the long run. But I don't see an end to it.
What's your favorite horror novel and your favorite horror movie?
Oh, put me on the spot.
I couldn't name
I'll list one of each because otherwise we'll be here all day. Favorite horror novel of all time is Stephen King's The Stand. Favorite horror movie of all time, it would be a tie. Either a film called Jacob's Ladder or Phantasm.
Has music ever given you inspiration to write something, and do you listen to music as you write?
Oh yeah. I've written, currently right now I'm involved with an anthology, authors doing stories based on the music of Bruce Springsteen.
Very interesting.
Ask me which story I wanted, I picked Atlantic City, so obviously I'm going to be listening to Atlantic City about 500 times when I finish the story. Johnny Cash, Nine Inch Nails, Typo Negative, Anthrax, Biohazard, a lot of bands and particular songs have influenced me subconsciously. I usually have music on while I'm working.
Do you change the music of different bands or songs to fit any of whatever's going on in what you're writing at the moment?
Sometimes I do. Terminal, the main characters are all in their early 20s and they listen to nothing but hip-hop, so the 6 months it took me to write the novel, I listened to absolutely nothing but hip-hop. The Conqueror Worms, the main characters are these two old mountain men who listen to country music from the 50s and 60s, so I listen to a lot of that while I'm writing it. I find that it helps me get into the character's head.
Can you see yourself ever leaving the horror and crime genre? What about retirement? What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think any author ever actually retires, J.D. Salinger is supposedly in retirement, but I've heard that he still writes every day. He just doesn't publish anything. For myself, I can't ever see stopping. I'll probably, die working on something. As for genre, I don't really think about it. So far, everything I've written seems to have a dark edge to it, but I don't set out to write a horror novel every time. So who knows?
You've mentioned a lot of times in your blog your frustration with the way the actual writing industry works, and I know Bentley Little does absolutely, he never goes to conventions.
No, he does not.
Never goes out to his fans. Would you ever consider retracting like that?
No, I think I think you reach a certain stage in your career where you do have to pull back publicly. You know, and that is something I struggle with more and more. You know, there are people who for lack of a better word, are crazy. I've had them show up at my house already, you know, with copies of books in hand, and that's not cool. You know, so far I've been fairly lucky. It doesn't happen often, but you reach the level of somebody like Bentley Little or Dean Koontz or Stephen King, and you have people camped outside of your home night and day. Yeah, you have no choice but to pull back from the public. So, who knows?
Give us any word on the Conqueror Worms too? You mentioned that on your message board a couple times, and some possible ideas for working on a sequel.
Yeah, I've got an idea for a sequel. In August, I will sit down with my publisher and we'll talk about the next 4 books I'm doing for him, and I think that'll certainly be one of the ones I'm going to pitch. That's something I'd like to do.
Outside of the Labyrinth, will we ever see Ted Egan?
Wait, you still rolling?
No.
No.
You down with the white buzzers?
No. 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 No.
I thought it was I thought it was a mutation of fungus from the constant moisture, but it doesn't really seem to fit.
Maybe.
You can't do that.
Maybe I don't know what it is yet. Yes, we need a sequel.
At this point, what would you say you're most proud of in your career?
Most proud of the fact that, you know, I get paid to get up every morning and do what I love to do, which is, you know, write books. And, you know, I get paid to give something back to a genre that I've always been a fan of. You know, it's like the ultimate fanboy dream. You know, you grow up reading this stuff and watching this stuff, and then one day people start paying you to make it so that other people can read it and watch it. It's pretty cool.
Can you describe your upcoming novel, Dead Sea, for us? We're very happy that you're jumping back into zombie fiction.
Yes, Dead Sea is my return to zombie novels. However, the zombies are more traditional, more Romero-esque, which is an actual word now, which I think is pretty cool. That's really all I can say about it without, you know, giving away major spoilers that would ruin the book. Can't wait.
I know you've answered this on your message board, but for anybody who watched the interview, all 6 of them, and might not have seen your answer, why hands?
The publisher feels that, you know, that identifies my books in the mind of a consumer. Put yourself in the place of, you know, an imaginary reader I like to call Margaret. You know, Margaret is at the grocery store, and she's walking by the little paperback rack, and she doesn't really recognize the name Brian Keene, but if she sees that hand reaching out of the cover, she says, "Oh yes, that's the boy that wrote that sick book about zombies. I don't want to buy that," and then she walks away. But, you know, yeah, in the case of somebody like Margaret, she may not remember my name, but if she sees the hands, it's going to click, and hopefully then she'll pick that book up.
Would you take hands off of it if you could?
Actually, I'm told there aren't going to be any more hands after Dead Sea. Yes.
No!
So what's going to be on the cover of Dark Hollow?
Big goat horns. There's going to be 7 books in a row with goat
Nostrils.
What?
nostril horror. It's a new subgenre. Get a close up of this, man. Look.
That's real horror.
What's your favorite element of the horror genre?
I think, in a way, horror is actually kind of comforting. I mean, we live in a world where every day in real life, monsters fly airplanes into buildings, and they abduct children behind car washes, and they shoot up their college campus. And, you know, at the end of the day, you can curl up with a safe monster, like a werewolf or a zombie or Freddy Krueger. You know, I know that sounds demented, but, you know, it's really true. It's almost a release of sorts. And I think you know, that's why it's back in popularity again. These are difficult times we live in, and it provides people a release.
Any last thoughts you want to leave us with?
Stay in school. If you want to be a writer, you have to read every day. You have to write every day. I want that in writing and on my desk Monday morning.
Thank you for sitting in.
Thank you.